So, welcome, folks. Today we have with us here in the sixth episode of I Started Up Rohit Naidu. Rohit Naidu is a designer at core, developer in action. He has worked with diverse brand, helped them build interactive and intuitive applications. He is an experienced professional in Android UI UX development. He is thrilled to be working in vernacular content in online space, infotainment platform, and building solutions for the next India. Rohit has co-founded BugBug, which is India's first social networking platform for contesting, specifically designed for Indian users who are new to smartphones. Without further ado, Rohit, welcome to the sixth episode of I Started Up. Tell us what the world should know about Rohit Naidu.
Thank you so much. Thank you for having me here. That's really good with regarding to a management college taking this initiative to explore this path of entrepreneurship as well as bringing up upfront many young emerging entrepreneurs. With that thing, I'll tell you a bit about myself. I started out with very basic Android development, but then I found out that designing was what my core is, and then eventually what I figured out was product development or any product specifically to IT products. It's more towards designing. So say UX designing, UI designing, or a product design, or how the experience of a user should be on a product. So I mostly work on products, how to deliver the products, how good experience a particular product flow, how to take up in phase to the deployment phase. So very much with respect to the MVP, that's the minimum viable product. So in this startup ecosystem, MVP is a very much known term. So I mostly work on taking the products at an MVP stage where, you know, from there they can go to 0 to 1. So that's mostly what I have done till now, as well as what I intend to do in future. That is take a product from 0 to 1.
So, thank you, Rohit, for successfully bringing MVP in a conversation. How would you relate the idea of BugBug with your own experience before co-founding BugBug in the first place?
Okay, if I want to give you a brief about BugBug, BugBug is a platform for tier 2, tier 3 cities, specifically the women crowd. But you can like expand it to other genders. But BugBug was in itself a platform for the user. So even before starting up, what in general we all need is an opportunity, is a platform to explore or to show our talent. So BugBug in some sense was a child of that particular thought that every women from every small city of India should have a platform to express her feelings or express her talent. So BugBug is mainly a platform to express talent or say anything that a particular person has to show.
Rohit, you told that BugBug is mainly for women in tier 2 and tier 3 cities. So, what does it mean for a user to get on to that platform? And how is it different from other social media platforms like, say, ShareChat or Facebook for these tier 2, tier 3 city women? How does it empower them, or like how do they spend their time on BugBug?
Right. So specifically with ShareChat or similar platforms like ShareChat, say Hello, or many more like it, like say Facebook, these platforms are very generic and they are very much neutral. They are very much explored. But BugBug in itself is focused on women crowd, and we intend to build a community of women itself. So even we have a policy where we check the gender status as well as we allow only women on the crowd, where we intend to have only a women community because there are multiple issues specifically in India with respect to say safety, or with respect to say abuse on the internet. So we are trying to cut down that particular issues, as well as we are giving very women specific engagements. So particularly our engagements are more exciting to the women crowd, such as say Housey. So Housey is what women play mostly in their kiddie party groups. So that's how we are trying to get in more women from the tier 2, tier 3 cities of India.
So, Rohit, it's been told that an entrepreneur, a great entrepreneur, is one who can, turn the biggest risks around him or around his company. So, what do you think are the major challenges for Buck Buck at this point of time?
Cool. So I'll tell you what. The biggest challenge in India in itself is the digital income that you generate from an application. So if you compare this to this particular aspect to US, people already are habitual to paying a certain amount of dollars for a particular application, if it's an utility, or say if it's an use case. But in India, still the people are very much want to pay money for digital services. So that's the, I won't say risk, but that's the biggest roadblock that we're facing right now with regard to payment. So right now the only source of income we have is through advertisements. But like all of us know, advertisement income is not enough for a company to keep going. You need multiple source of incomes to keep going. So like Facebook, yes, yeah, but Facebook operates on a global level, as well as Facebook has subsidiaries. So maybe it's possible for Facebook, but in this particular ecosystem of India, it's a bit tough to just keep the company running on basis of the ad revenue. So that's the, I won't say risk, but that's the thing we are tackling with respect to the revenue.
So, Rohit, at what stage of your life did you decide that this entrepreneurship is my calling? Because it's a risky business to start companies, and like there is a very less probability that your company is going to go through it. So, how did you take that risk, and when did you decided that I'm going to do this?
Right. So yeah, it is a risk. I won't disagree, but it's at the same time it's a great amount of learning. So even when you take a company from the idea stage to say a MVP level, to a product market fit level, to a funding level, it's everything is a learning. So the learning that you get from it is what mainly interests me. So I would go on this process for like n number of times. It doesn't matter. So, and even failure is good, because then failure, n number of amount of failure teaches you what you should not do the other time. So the calling was that it's maybe a 3-year cycle of learning something new. So that's it.
So you are saying you are at the stage of founding your first startup right now, and maybe some years down the line we would see you having founded a dozen of startups maybe. But yeah, there are so many myths around being an entrepreneur. So how would you point out those myths of being an entrepreneur?
Mostly in nowadays, what the trend is that mostly entrepreneurship is about um, raising funds, and then having cool offices, and then having big teams. But mostly entrepreneurship, or say the initial stages of entrepreneurship, is about building the product, taking the product from 0 to 1. And 0 to 1, by which I mean is bringing the product to a product market fit level, where the product is growing organically, not by paid marketing and stuff. So the myths about entrepreneurship is very simple, that even if you raise a seed round, or say series A round, it's still struggle. Once you raise a series A round, it's struggle for Series B. Once raise Series B, it's a struggle for Series C. So the struggle is always there. So it's not a very happy-go-lucky life. It's always that you're working on the product and you're trying to improve. You're trying to iterate. You're trying to make your users more satisfied, more happy. It's not a very cool life. It's not.
So Rohit, like you said, there is a lot of struggle in the life of an entrepreneur, and especially in getting a funding. So from seed funding to Series A to Series B. So can you tell us the story about your first funding deal?
We started up in 2018, and we were looking out for funding because we had a team of 4 or 5 people around the end of 2018, and we reached couple of. So the initial process of funding is you have an idea, you have a very basic product that you can show to the investors, and then you go to angel investors, you go to incubators, you go to VC funds, but then you have to figure out what is right for your product as well as for your company. So our story was a bit strange. So we got in touch with couple of angel investors. So we had a group of angel investors that were looking to invest in BugBug, but then Nazara Games, one of the leading gaming company in India, showed some interest in BugBug. So what they were looking for is, because they had a range of users in say age group of 8 to 15, 16, mostly male. They were mostly looking for female users in their kind of portfolio or something. So they showed a keen interest in BugBug, and then we had like a couple of talks with them, and they loved our idea, they loved our vision, and like eventually we got our seed round, or you can say an angel round of funding from Nazara Games Mumbai. So that was it.
So Rohit, it's been more than 2 years since you founded BugBug. So how do you keep that innovative fire alive? Like it's been 2 years, and how do you keep on innovating again and again and come up with new solutions every time to keep the company running?
Right. Uh, it's been I think we are lucky in that particular aspect of innovation, because we are an engagement based company, and like say a film industry where you make new films each year, we are similarly in that kind of a space where we kind of release new engagements, say every quarter, or say 4 or 5 months. So for us, innovation is basically entertaining the user in a more modern way, or say more new way. So we try to build new engagements, we try to build new games, we try to build new features that would socially bind the user with their groups. So that's how we're doing it. We try to iterate every quarter, and we try to bring up new engagements as well as new offerings for the user.
But still, Rohit, if you still go back to the phase where you are at zero, what is required according to you to form a startup? Like, is the idea most important, or there should be technical knowledge, or you must have a business plan in mind? What is most important according to you?
Right. So I'll tell you honestly what I've learned uh, from the startup ecosystem. I think the most important thing is the team you have. So everybody would talk about a team, but still the team is the best thing that you can have. A team that has trust, the team that is with a complementary skill set, a team that is willing to make the startup or the product the priority one of their lives is what I think is most important. Because if you have that, I don't think idea is the limitation, because you can look up the history. Every idea that has become big has been iterated or has been pivoted over 3-4 times to become that particular thing that it is now. So I think for that to happen, you need the team to be, solid. You need a team to be, the core team to be very strong and very stubborn, that it's like, I want to work with these particular group of people. Only then it happens. So with respect to what is the most important thing in a startup, I think it is the team. The core team that you have, it should be strong, it should be trustworthy, as well as it should be with a complementary skill sets.
So while you mention the importance on having a right team, having a right co-founder is also extremely important. So as you mentioned, to have complementary skills. So my question is, whom to choose as a co-founder, and what is your story of finding your team?
Choosing a co-founder is a really important, I would say, a roadblock in terms of a startup, because it's always a roadblock, because most startups fail because the maybe the synergy between the co-founders or the frequency between the co-founders is not right. So I would tell by my experience that having a co-founder with whom you have a history of like maybe 2-3 years, or with whom you have worked for a couple of years, or maybe whom you know personally, say it's your friend or it's your colleague from a past company, or say it's your buddy from a college, or you should have a past with your co-founder. I think that's the most important thing, because then the relation is beyond the startup. The relation always has to be beyond the startup. So if the relation is just with the startup, if the startup is failing, or if the startup has a problem, then the relationship gets into a problem. But if the relationship is beyond the startup, then you can handle those issues.
So, Rohit, throughout your journey, you must have been through a lot of highs and lows. How, as a founder, do you stay like poised all the time and keep looking at the bigger picture? Because there are certain times when there is a lot of things going on and you tend to get stressed. So, how do you find your way out of that?
Right. So, specifically on this point, what we used to do was, around maybe every fortnight or every month, we used to have just a co-founders meeting, where we used to, frankly speak about what issues we have with your co-founders. So, if I have some issue with my co-founder, I would just, pour it out. I would just let him know that, like, this particular thing past this week I didn't like, or say this was something that I disagree with, or this was something. So I think transparency is the key. So if you have a very good transparency, and that particular thing comes from a relation where the relation is a long lasting relation, only then you have that transparency. So if you can say to your co-founder that, if you can point out his mistakes, if you can accept your own mistakes, if you can figure out things between together, I think that's the most important thing. So I think that's the key thing. If you could uh, discuss transparently what the issues are, it could be helpful for a startup.
How important is it for the team to stay intact in times when our venture is going down, or how important is it for it to be intact when we are going up also?
Okay, so with respect to teams, you always have to keep the team in the loop. So startup is not like a MNC or like an explode company, where your team doesn't know about what funding you have raised, or what amount of money are you spending on XYZ things, or what are your future plans, or something like that. So in a startup, it's a very small team. Even a team of 50 is a small team. So you need to keep the team in a loop. So with respect to vision, with respect to goals, with respect to funding, so specifically what we did was we always kept our team in a loop. We tried to convey every single detail about the funding meetings, as well as the goals we have reached, the goals we have not reached, with them. So I think that kept the team in loop. So even now our team is a bit supportive. Even with the pandemic going on, we have the team with us. Obviously that every individual has some personal issues or something, but we try to keep that transparency with the team. So that helps. Like if you keep them in some dark space where they are just working on a given task list or a track of things, but like if you show transparency, I think even they could step in and help the startup last longer.
That's great. So I think we have warmed up the conversation pretty well, and you have been honest with us till now. And if the users are doubting that right now, we'll have a rapid fire round with you where you won't get time to think about an answer, and you'll just have to answer right away. Are you ready, Rohit?
Sure. I'm ready.
So here's the rapid fire round. A book that you'd gift anyone any day.
0 to 1 by Peter Thiel.
Okay, that's a good one. What would you be giving up for scale?
It would sound bad, but I would give up on a bit of technical quality for scale. That if my servers go down, it is fine. But if the scale is reached, that is okay with me. So I would give up on a bit of quality for scale. Yeah.
Thanks for being honest there. Uh, any startup you wish you were a founder of?
Swiggy, totally.
So, what is the best day of your life?
When we got the first round of funding for BookBook.
And what is the biggest regret you ever had?
I think it's good that I don't have any regrets yet.
Okay. So, Rohit, if you had to choose between these two entrepreneurs, which one would you choose? Steve Jobs or Bill Gates?
Always curious.
Elon Musk or Jeff Bezos?
Jeff Bezos.
Peter Thiel or Elon Musk?
Peter Thiel.
Rohit, we have some startup jargons for you, and I am sure you are well versed with startup jargons by now. Let us see how much do you know. So I'll say a
Sure.
startup jargon. You'll have to tell me the meaning of it. Okay.
Okay, I'll try.
So what is bootstrapping?
Oh, we are doing it right now.
Okay,
I,
that's a
I'll
good one.
tell you the real meaning of bootstrapping. Bootstrapping is putting all of you into this startup or into whatever you're doing with no strings attached, with no uh, money from outside. It's just you on your own. That's bootstrapping.
What is churn rate?
Okay, so churn rate is the amount of users that leave your product. So
Right.
that is like if you have 100 number of users. So like if 60% just goes away, that's your churn rate. Like
What is
amount of
growth
users that
hacking?
goes away. Growth hacking is a very typical jargon. Growth hacking is using uh, various different ways to grow, like maybe SEO or maybe any kind of paid marketing or some viral marketing, something like that. So it's just some way to get the product growing.
Okay. What's an ROI?
It's return on investment. Very typically.
lastly,
Huh?
what's a lean startup?
I think we are a lean startup. Lean startup is one with very specific amount of skill set and very less amount of like team members working very focusedly on a particular task. Lean, like, it's generally a term for having something very small. So I
Right,
think
that's
less
great.
amount.
I think this was the easiest quiz of your life. Okay.
So, thank you, Rohit, for giving us the time to interview you. And
Thank you.
we wish you all the best for your future endeavors.
Thank you so much. Thank you for having me.